We thought that this is going to be interesting because most of the IWAMA's consortium have participated in either of those projects, but we also have some newcomers. And we want to hold this presentation also in order to explain you how the wastewater treatment as a subject has evolved through the projects in which UBC was involved as a lead partner, and how did we come to concentrate on different issues of wastewater treatment. And these three projects that I'm going to talk about, PURE, PRESTO, and LearnWater, they all had a bit of a different focus, but altogether, all of them eventually resulted in IWAMA. And also, maybe you would learn about some interesting tools or achievements that we have reached in those projects and see them relevant in your current activities at your wastewater treatment plants. So in the beginning, for those of you who still by now don't know about Union of the Baltic Cities, there are a couple of slides about that I will hopefully quickly run through. So we are city network around the Baltic Sea region that comprised at various times from over 100 until around 90 member cities now. We've been established after the fall of the Iron Curtain through the cooperation between Kalmar and Gdańsk, who have been very good cooperating twin cities, and they wanted to involve as many as possible cities in the Baltic states to cooperate together with cities in Nordic countries and in Germany and Poland. So our main secretariat is therefore also based in Gdańsk, but we function through 7 commissions that have all the topics in which we function, and the one that I, Agnieszka, and Jussi and Björn represent is called Sustainable Cities Commission. We are located in Turku. And we have been hosted by City of Turku since 97, so that's quite a long time. We have an international team here in the office, coming from various countries, also in the Baltic Sea region, but beyond. And in our work, we mostly focus on sustainability management, climate work, water-related issues and energy-related issues, as well as urban mobility, urban planning, and maritime policies. So this was how our projects in which we work mostly look like. So the wastewater treatment is just one of those topics. And it's an integral part of the general sustainability and the environmental state of the Baltic Sea. So we and the whole network and the member cities feel strongly committed to the helping the state of the Baltic Sea and then everything that is connected to it. I will start with the first project in the field of wastewater treatment that has been taking place here with us as a lead partner, and it was called PURE, Project on Urban Reduction of Eutrophication. It came the idea for the project came from one of our member cities, city of Mariehamn, that called for some stronger and more concrete actions to combat eutrophication, which is a big issue also around the Åland Islands, where Mariehamn is a capital. And after initial consultations with partners, this project application has been submitted to the Baltic Sea region program, but of the previous funding perspective, 2007-2013, and the project has started in 2009. So quite a few IWAMA partners have been involved in PURE. Oh, I guess we will come to that in a while, to the partnership. main goal of PURE was to improve wastewater treatment in the respect of phosphorus removal, and it was largely built on our cooperation with HELCOM and aim at reaching HELCOM's norms to reduce phosphorus content in the outgoing wastewater until to 0.5 milligram per liter. And other aspects that PURE dealt with also included improving sludge handling capacities of our partners, and in general try to benchmark and commit to more intensive actions to fight eutrophication. So we can go to the partners, who apart from the Union of the Baltic Cities Sustainable City Environment Commission back in those days, also consisted of John Norman Foundation from Helsinki and HELCOM, as I already mentioned, who was dealing with information dissemination, communication activities in the project. Other than that, we had several partners that are also present in IWAMA, as I said. It's Jurmala Water Company, it was Water and Sewage Company of Szczecin, it was City of Gdańsk, but we pretty much cooperated in practice with the Water Company of Gdańsk, and Lübeck, who is now in IWAMA, our associated partners, have been one of the regular partners in PURE project. Apart from that, we also had Riga Water Company and Kohtla-Järve plant in Estonia, Marienhamn town, and Brest Water Company from Belarus. I hope I mentioned all, not quite in the order they are listed in here. So some of the outputs worth mentioning in PURE projects included technical audits and reports that have been conducted to almost all partner plants, I think, apart from Riga, who had from the very beginning idea what they want to invest in. Lotta at that time has been working at HELCOM and was involved in PURE actively. So if I'm saying something wrong, you can always correct me in the Q&A box or later when we have the questions round. So there were also some concrete investments that altogether resulted in a substantial reduction of the phosphorus. And there were also some suggestions for our partners how to improve sludge handling based on activities of the project. In the end, we have had a book of good practices on sustainable sludge handling, which also covered some of the legal constraints that countries had at that time in 2011 for their sludge management, but at least we know that in the EU level not much has changed in that respect. And one of the outputs was also an online database for urban wastewater treatment, which should help to monitor how the process is looking on the level of the Baltic Sea region. So I have a bit more information about this. Somehow picture is missing from this slide, but there was supposed to be a picture. A couple of words about PURE database. It was designed to monitor the load and level of wastewater treatment and the technology that was used in the region. And in the beginning, most of the data to the database was uploaded from the HELCOM's sources, but then the local users were invited to join it and to update the information and to continuously keep inserting data for every year. This hasn't been, to my knowledge, done very regularly and very strategically. So now in IWAMA project, we try to do this benchmarking in a bit of a different way. But as a result of PURE activities, 3 partner wastewater treatment plants, 2 from Szczecin and 1 from Kohtla-Järve, have been removed from the HELCOM hotspot list, which is a concrete achievement how the project managed to decrease the phosphorus inputs and make some difference for the Baltic Sea. Oh yeah, that's the map. Here's the map. In Pura, we had technical audits conducted in order to estimate which investments are needed, and some of those investments were still implemented within the Pura's duration. So the technical audits have been done by the external consultancy company, a bit differently than we are doing it now in IWAMA. But altogether, the result was that the plants from Brest, Jurmala, Kohtla-Järve, Gdańsk, and Szczecin have received some audits and some information of how they can improve their current technical processes in the view of decreasing the concentration of phosphorus in the purified wastewater. And based on the results of these technical audits, we had investments implemented in Riga and in Jurmala. Yes, I mentioned before in Riga it was actually defined without the technical audit. So in Jurmala and in Brest, but Brest is going to be on the next slide. So investment in Riga, you can see here a description of it. There was some storage and dosing tanks for chemical precipitation installed, and also magnetic flow meters and additional sludge thickening centrifuge. In Jurmala as well, new airflow meters, additional polymer station, and the division of the aerobic and anaerobic zones. You can read a bit more about the Pura's outcomes in the brochure, which was our final publication. But I don't have it linked, unfortunately, anywhere. But yeah, these plants have been investing, and now Jurmala is going to invest in the IWAMA project as well. Pura has also had its first pilot investment in Belarus of such kind. It was in Brest, and due to various reasons, it has been recognized the need to export these good practices also to the countries outside the EU, but still contributing to the state of the Baltic Sea through the downstream pollution. So this was one of the integral steps to take, and because of that, it was recognized that there is a potential to implement cost-effective measures that can improve the state of the sea. The water utility personnel in Belarus was considering they were highly motivated and willing to improve the methods of their work, but not necessarily possessing all the technical knowledge about the enhanced nutrient removal or the need to have such. And also there was a great problem for the industrial wastewater treatment and sludge disposal. Altogether, we have also encountered quite a few administrative challenges because of the contradicting EU requirements and the Belarusian legislation norms. But there was initial work started in this field and hopefully will continue afterwards as well. So a couple of more concrete words about investment in Brest. So the city is located very close to the border of to the Polish border, and it discharges through Bug River to the Vistula River, and then all the discharges still end up in the Baltic Sea. And they had a very high phosphorus concentration in the outlet. The Pura project investments foreseen chemical storage reservoir that would help to implement the chemical phosphorus removal system, dosing points before primary sedimentation and after secondary sedimentation, and altogether the annual load has been reduced up to 250 ton per year. And as I said, there were different complications in this process. We had to extend the project in order to arrive to these positive results, but nevertheless, somebody has to be the first one to do it, and we are really happy that we started this work, which later has been quite successfully continued by the PRESTO project. Again, PRESTO, some of the other partners of IWAMA have been interns partners in PRESTO, and it's the project on reduction of eutrophication of the Baltic Sea today, and it's been also funded from the same funding instrument, Baltic Sea Region Program 2007-2013, starting in 2011 and continuing in 2014. So PRESTO approached what has been done in Pure and tried to mainstream the results, tries to do the concrete investments in more Belarusian wastewater treatment plants, but also it recognized some other needs that had to be taken into account. So apart from clear environmental goals that PRESTO had to reduce the nutrient load for approximately 400 tons per year, there was also consideration for capacity development needs taken into account. And in case of PRESTO, it was mostly concentrating on university level education. And as a third pillar to that, there were awareness raising activities for authorities, but also for the personnel of the treatment plants in order to educate and to spread the thought why eutrophication is dangerous for the Baltic Sea and why their country, even not being directly located on the shore of the Baltic Sea, contributes to bad state of it. So yeah, you can see here a more detailed list of PRESTO results, but we can take a look at some of them a bit closer. So the PRESTO project has involved, apart from us, Union of the Baltic Cities and John Nurman Foundation as in Pure, we also had investments in Belarusian water companies of Grodno, Molodechno and Vitebsk, and also smaller scale investments in Kaunas and Daugavpils, who are our IWAMA partners now as well. The feasibility studies have been done in Baranovici and also Lida, who was associated partner, and in Daugavpils. And Technical University of Berlin, our current work package 4 leader, has been leading the capacity building activities in PRESTO. The university partners who have been uptaking these good practices of the introducing advanced courses on nutrient removal and so on in their curricular were the Belarusian National Technical University, Brest State Technical University, and Polotsk University in Belarus. And yes, as I mentioned, we had water utilities of Lida, Brest, Polotsk, Slonim as associated partners, and St. Petersburg from Russia. Also among associated partners, we had some policymakers, Belarusian Ministry of Housing and Communal Services, also Belarusian Technical Design Institute, and University of Latvia. And at advisory status, we've been cooperating a lot with Finnish Embassy in Belarus, HELCOM, and Northern Dimension Initiative, if I decipher this correctly. Couple of words about each investment in PRESTO. I am monitoring my time, but I think we can still squeeze those in. So in Vitebsk, in Vitebsk, there was a chemical phosphorus removal system introduced. The city is located by the river Western Dvina, which also flows to the Baltic Sea via Latvia. It's a very big city of 350,000 inhabitants. And the improvements of PRESTO have included also the renewal of air blowers and changes in feeding of mechanically treated wastewater to biological treatment. In Grodno, which is a slightly smaller city and located closer to the Polish border, also chemical phosphorus removal system have been introduced, biological nutrient removal in one part of the plant, and altogether the renovation of aeration system in one part of the plant has been implemented as well. And by changing the wastewater feeding points, also the biological nutrient removal efficiency in the aeration basins have been increased. So this was PRESTO investment in Grodno, and the last one in Molodechno, again even smaller city of 95,000 inhabitants, is also located by the river that contributes to Neman and later flows to the Baltic Sea via Lithuania. Again, investment in chemical phosphorus removal, including dissolving station for solid chemical. The basic biological nutrient removal consisted of mixers, diving walls, and nitrate recirculation, and online nitrogen and phosphorus analyzers have been installed in Molodechno during the PRESTO project. There have been a lot of capacity development activities and awareness raising activities taking place during PRESTO, and those included thematical training workshops, similarly to those we attempt in IWAMA, but there were also 4 public forums for awareness raising. The partners have visited a lot of wastewater treatment plants for the site visit, some of them being partner plants and some of them not, like in Germany, Berlin, Finland, Turku and Helsinki. And those have proved to be working good for capacity development goals as well. Closer to the university educational aspect of capacity development, there have been a framework paper compiled on development of education on wastewater treatment in Belarus, and as a result of PRESTO activities, also new courses have been implemented at the partner universities. The joint pilot course on nutrient removal for engineering students have been held, and it included both all the students from the partner universities from Belarus, but also students from Berlin Technical University. So this is the picture from that pilot course taking place in PRESTO. And also there have been developments on transferring literature and DVA standards to Belarus, and the first step for it was translating them into Russian language and getting them into use in Belarus, which would eventually hopefully lead to approximation of Belarusian regulations and standards to the EU regulations and the norms of the member states in the EU. So that was a big part of the PRESTO work on the well, capacity building / awareness raising level. And from here we touch upon another aspect of capacity development, but now from the lifelong learning perspective, contrary to the education of higher university students. So this was a much smaller project that I'm going to finish with, called LearnWater, and it lasted only a year. with a very small funding, you can see which was obtained from the Council of the Baltic Sea States and Swedish Ministry on the Environment. And in this was like a small piloting project also before IWAMA, because we attempted to see how a good example of conducting lifelong learning from one country in the Baltic Sea region could be taken and implemented, perhaps with some adjustments in another country. And in this case, we have taken the German concept of neighborhoods and tried to see how it could be adjusted and implemented in Belarus. So apart from us, there was also Berlin Technical University involved. And in Belarus, we have been cooperating with the Association of Water and Wastewater Enterprises called Aquabel, and Vitebsk water company that was also partner in PRESTO. So here is a very short description. What is the German concept of neighborhoods, if you haven't heard about it before? So it has been functioning already for a long time, and it's done through facilitated meetings at which so-called neighborhoods, which comprise several of proximally located wastewater treatment plants, they gather and they try to discuss some common issues which come up in their day-to-day activities, and then see if anybody has any good solution for those. So yes, as I said, in the framework of LearnWater, we try to see if something like this could work for Belarus and could be adjusted in Belarus. So for that, we have been doing some research activities, first trying to see how the initial uptake and implementation of neighborhoods concept takes place actually in Poland, and then deriving some conclusions from that, and also trying to hold such a pilot meeting in Vitebsk. That's why Vitebsk was involved as hosts for this first neighborhood meeting in Belarus. There was conducted a framework paper that described the current status of lifelong learning in Belarus and how the neighborhood concept can be adjusted. But we have also established quite a number of obstacles for the currently successful functioning of the neighborhoods concept in Belarus, which have to deal mostly about because different geographical scale and of the wastewater treatment plants, that mostly those from the bigger cities have more advanced technology, and therefore their experts might be more interested in learning new ways and so on, while for smaller plants in smaller municipalities, it was just mostly a matter of survival to continue their functioning. That's why altogether there has to be general improvement of exactly this awareness raising and work on the country level, on the state level, before concept like neighborhoods could be successfully implemented. But there was a will to continue improving it, and there were very good signs coming from our Belarusian partners, and this has largely contributed to the development of IWAMA project, in which in turns we hope to analyze this lifelong learning programs and practices from all the other countries, not only Belarus or Germany that we know now about, but how is it done everywhere, and what are the good points that could be borrowed, adapted, and brought into functioning. So here I end, almost on time, 36 minutes. Had to run a bit quicker through the investments, but I'm sure most of you know about them anyways, or know where to read more details about them. But also we are here to answer some of your questions if there's a need. So I am ready to take any questions from the QA box, and I don't see any in there, so perhaps perhaps we can have the pre-prepared ones if nobody wants to ask anything.